You've seen them, right? That half-built bridge on your commute, the community hall that's just sitting there, abandoned, the road that goes absolutely nowhere. They're like these ghosts haunting our neighborhoods, just constant reminders of wasted money and, frankly, broken promises. Well, today we are going to solve the case of the unfinished project. Let's get into it.
I mean, it's the big question, isn't it? And it affects every single one of us. This isn't just about some concrete and steel. This is about our tax money, it's about our communities, and it's about our trust in the whole system. So why does this keep happening over and over again? Well, the answer is a little more complicated, but also a lot more fixable than you might think.
So let's start with the mystery itself. These ghost projects are everywhere. It's a frustratingly common sight. You see the big groundbreaking ceremony in the news, you see a flurry of activity for a few months, and then poof, nothing. For years sometimes. How can something so big and so visible just fall off the official radar?
And right here, this is our central clue. This quote from our source material just nails the core of the problem. Think about it. The entire system, both political and administrative, is set up to celebrate the beginning of things. You know, the ribbon-cutting ceremony, the photo op. But there's almost no incentive, no structure to actually see those projects through to the finish line.
Okay, so let's pull back the curtain and uncover the specific flaws in the system that let these projects fail so quietly. This isn't about one person messing up. It's about these huge gaps in the entire process, from the very start to, well, to the non-finish.
The source points to 4 massive gaps. First off, there's no single, unified list of all the projects happening. Nobody has the full picture. Second, the governance is weak, which means projects get greenlit without the proper checks and balances. Third, there's no formal discipline for closing out a project, so they can just fade into obscurity. And finally, as we just saw, the incentives are all wrong. They reward starting something new way more than they reward finishing what's already been started.
And here's where it gets really interesting, how these gaps actually play out. Without that central list, projects just get lost in their own little departmental silos. Those crucial readiness checks, like, hey, do we actually own the land for this thing? They get skipped, leading to delays that, honestly, everyone should have seen coming. And since there's no formal closure process, a project can be dropped without anyone ever having to take responsibility. You add in the political need for splashy inaugurations and the fact that government officers often get transferred right before problems surface, and you've got the perfect recipe for failure with zero accountability.
Okay, so it sounds a bit bleak, I know. But it absolutely does not have to be this way. Now that we've diagnosed the problem, let's talk about the solution. The source lays out this really clear accountability blueprint, a path to redesign the system and make sure projects actually get done. And the absolute cornerstone of this blueprint is the creation of a specialized unit. You can think of it like an air traffic control tower, but for all public works. This project tracking and accountability cell would be a dedicated team, and they'd have one job and one job only: to track every single project, enforce the rules, and make sure those stalled projects are dealt with once and for all. So how would this cell actually do its job? Well, it's got 5 core functions. First, it would create that single source of truth we've been talking about, a public ledger of all works. Next, it would enforce these really strict checkpoints, or stage gates, so no project can even begin until it's 100% ready. It would also force a decision, revive or retire, on any project that's been sitting idle. Then, and this is a big one, it would link future funding directly to past performance. And finally, and you're going to love this one, it would publish public scorecards on contractors. Can you imagine? Now that is what you call real transparency. This here is one of the cell's most powerful tools, triage. It's simple. If a project has been sitting idle for 6 months or more, it can't just hang around in limbo forever. The cell would force a decision. Option 1, revive it with a new, viable plan. Option 2, mothball it safely for the future. Or Option 3, it's time to cut our losses, demolish it, and recover whatever materials we can. The point is, no more ghost projects. A decision has to be made. Now, this isn't just a job for the government, not at all. This whole blueprint for accountability needs a watchdog. And guess what? That's where you come in. Let's talk about the incredibly important and active role that every single citizen can play in making this happen. Okay, I want you to remember this number, 1 crore rupees. That's about 10 million rupees. The idea here is that any public project costing more than this amount should have its progress reported publicly. It's a simple threshold, but it would bring a massive number of significant projects out of the shadows and into the sunlight for everyone to see.
So what can you actually do? Here's a super simple 3-step action plan.
First, start demanding that those quarterly reports on all projects over 1 crore are actually published. Second, use the Right to Information Act, or RTI, which is a powerful law that gives you the right to access government info to get the official documents on projects that seem stuck in your area. And third, compare what's happening in your neighborhood with best practices from elsewhere and start asking the tough questions, like, why aren't we doing that here?
And the best part is, when you make these demands, you're not just pulling ideas out of thin air. You are literally asking officials to follow their own rulebook. The General Financial Rules of 2017 already exist, and they lay out exactly how project management, asset registers, and completion reports are supposed to be handled. You're just asking for the existing rules to actually be enforced.
So, where does this all lead? What does the future actually look like if we manage to implement this accountability blueprint and, just as importantly, if we all embrace our role as watchdogs?
You know, the ultimate goal here is a huge cultural shift. It's about moving away from a broken system where projects can fail quietly in the dark and into a new one where everything, and I mean everything, happens out in the open. A system where every project's progress is visible to all and every single delay requires a public explanation.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Just take a second and think about those half-finished projects in your own town or city. Now imagine if the status of every single one of them, the budget, the timeline, the contractor's name, was on a public dashboard for anyone to see. What do you think would change? And really, what's stopping us from demanding exactly that?